Welcome everyone to Ein Sof Learning. Today we're going to begin a new series on the introduction to Talmud Eser Sefirot by Rav Ashlag. We already have a series on this channel titled The Teaching of the 10 Sefirot, Talmud Eser Sefirot, which was written by Rav Ashlag as a Perush, which means a commentary, on the Tree of Life, a book written by the Ari, which we know is very high level material. We're dealing here with the wisdom of Kabbalah, which is the mystical level of understanding the Torah, known as Sod HaTorah. Now, of course, when we filter it through our minds, it no longer contains the depth of secret and understanding that is intended. But that's why we learn. It's to expand our mind, expand our understanding, one step at a time, so we can reach the upper roots, which means the secrets of Chokhmat Kabbalah, which really is the goal. Why do we learn Kabbalah? Well, actually, I don't want to spoil it. Let's just get into the introduction, where he actually does address this question: what is Kabbalah and why today, not before, today, is necessary, it is urgent for the people of Israel to wake up to the wisdom of Kabbalah, because the tikkun is coming closer and closer. The deadline for the tikkun that Israel is responsible for bringing to the world is coming. Therefore, we have to prepare ourselves. That means the Chokhmat Kabbalah is no longer for a select few. It's no longer been kept away for a select few individuals that are holy and elite. It has become available to the public. That's not according to my words. I'm nobody here, and I will be the first person to say that I am not a master of Kabbalah. I am not a rabbi. I don't claim or pretend to claim to be a teacher. I am a learner. But I do enjoy sharing, and we are obligated to share what we learn from the Torah. So let's begin the introduction to the study of the 10 Sefirot. And just to give a quick reminder, a Sefirah in Hebrew refers to a dimension of the creation. There are 10 such dimensions in every world. What we call Keter, Chokhmah, Bina, Chesed, Gevurah, Tiferet, Netzach, Hod, Yasod, Malchut. You can think of them as dimensions of consciousness, or you can think of them as dimensions, meaning realms, within which beings can exist, such as us, who dwell in the 10th Sefirah, the 10th dimension, which is this world, which we call this world. Olam Asiya, the world of action. Just bring it up, because I'm not sure if everybody knows what a Sefirah is. Let's begin. Chapter 1. At the outset of my words, I find a great need to break an iron wall that has been separating us from the wisdom of Kabbalah since the ruin of the temple to this generation. It lies heavily on us and arouses fear of being forgotten from Israel. However, when I begin to speak to anyone about this study, his first question is, why should I know how many angels are in the sky and what their names are? Can I not keep the whole Torah in all its details and intricacies without this knowledge? Second, he will ask, the sages have already determined that one must first fill one's belly with Mishnah and Gemara. Thus, how can one deceive himself that he has already completed the whole of the revealed Torah and lacks only the wisdom of the hidden? Third, he is afraid that he will turn sour because of this engagement. This is because there have already been incidents of deviation from the path of Torah because of engagement in Kabbalah. Hence, why do I need this trouble? Who is so foolish as to place himself in danger for no reason? Fourth, even those who favor this study permit it only to holy ones, servants of the Creator, and not all who wish to take the Lord may come and take. Fifth, and most importantly, there is a conduct in our midst that, when in doubt, keep this: do as the people do. And my eyes see that all those who study Torah in my generation are of one mind, and they refrain from studying the hidden. Moreover, they advise those who ask them that it is undoubtedly preferable to study a page of Gemara instead of this engagement. Let's pause for a second and break this down. Rav Ashlag opens his introduction to the Talmud Eser Sefirot. He starts out by saying that there is a great iron wall, a barrier, between Israel and the Chokhmat Kabbalah, the wisdom of Kabbalah. And that iron wall are the following 5 concerns that are at the top of the person's mind when they think about learning Kabbalah. Before they learn Kabbalah, there are 5 questions that people usually ask. First one, why do I need to know this? Can I not keep the entire Torah without Kabbalah? Do I really need Kabbalah? I can do all the mitzvot. I don't need to know Kabbalah in order to fulfill the mitzvot, especially if I was born religious and I do it out of habit. Not saying that all people who are born into religion are performing it out of habit, but as Rav Ashlag already said, that another thing that he's recognizing about his generation that he lived in, which we know he died in 1957, I believe. He was born in 1885 in Poland, and he passed away in 1954 in Jerusalem. He died in Israel. And he said in his generation, everybody is of one mind. That means they don't really think for themselves. They're in a group consciousness. They go like a herd of people following the general population. They're followers. That's what Rav Ashlag is saying. Other things that people will ask is that the sages are holy sages. They have told us already that you have to first learn the Gemara and the Mishnah entirely, from front to back, before you're able to begin learning the wisdom of Kabbalah. That's another question that comes into people's minds. Another question people ask, he's saying that people think that when they learn the Chokhmat Kabbalah, they're going to turn sour, which means they're going to go off the path of God. Somehow, because there have been cases in the past, which is true, that people, rabbis, mystics, holy people, have gone against the Torah because they engaged in the wisdom of Kabbalah and it was too deep, or people were not ready for it, or whatever it may have been. For example, in the case of Shabbatai Tzvi, right? This person was a rabbi who felt that he knew better than everybody else. He thought that he was the Messiah. Not here to say he was or he was not, but we know that at the end of the day, what damage he caused. So there have been cases like this. Who's the most famous example? Jesus. Jesus, according to our own Talmud, our own traditions, he was a Kabbalist gone rogue. In other words, he was a mystic. He was a Jewish rabbi, holy. But he committed certain mistakes throughout his lifetime, and he felt that he was not going to get forgiveness for them, and for that reason, he started to do things without thinking. He also went against the Torah. Now look at what we have because of that. We have an entire religion with billions of people. Now, God forbid, I'm not saying that God is not in control of the world. Of course, God is the one who allowed this to happen in order to create the army of Esav. Christianity represents Esav. Ishmael represents Islam. So there's 2 realms at the same time, and they're both true. One is what goes on down here. The way we see things happening, things happen suddenly, right? But really, everything that happens down here is an effect of what goes on in the roots, which means in the upper worlds. This is the world of branches, the world of effects, while the upper worlds, which we call olamot, are the roots, the cause, the world of cause, the creator, collectively called the creator, because the upper worlds work together in order to create the lower world. Now, indeed, Rabbi Ashlag says, if we set our hearts to answer but one very famous question, I am certain that all these questions and doubts will vanish from the horizon, and you will look unto their place to find them gone. This indignant question is a question that the whole world asks, namely, what is the meaning of my life? In other words, these numbered years of our life that cost us so heavily, and the numerous pains and torments that we suffer for them, to complete them to the fullest, who is it who enjoys them? Or even more precisely, whom do I delight? The question Rav Ashlag is asking here, first, he offers an answer to all the previous questions, or never mind, not an answer, but he answers the question with a question. Very Jewish. What is the meaning of my life? And that question, the answer to that question, will solve all of the difficulties that a person might have about learning the Chokhmat Kabbalah. All of the doubts, all of the reasons that a person may come up with to not engage in the Chokhmat Kabbalah will vanish when we understand the answer to this question. What is the meaning of my life? It is indeed true that historians have grown wary contemplating the question of what is the meaning of my life, and particularly in our generation. No one even wishes to consider it. Yet the question stands as bitterly and as vehemently as ever. Sometimes it meets us uninvited, pecks at our minds, and humiliates us to the ground before we find the famous ploy of flowing mindlessly in the currents of life, as always. 3. Indeed, it is to resolve this great riddle that the verse writes, "Taste and see that the Lord is good." Those who keep the Torah and mitzvot correctly are the ones who taste the taste of life. They are the ones who see and testify that the Lord is good. As our sages say, that He created the worlds to do good to His creations, since it is the conduct of the good to do good. Let's recap. Rav Ashlag is telling us that if we are capable of resolving this question of what is the meaning of life, then we will also understand the meaning of this verse, which says, "Taste and see that the Lord is good." In other words, a person who engages in Torah and mitzvot, of course, meaning to their fullest. He says, a person who keeps Torah and mitzvot correctly. What do you mean correctly? That means in conjunction with Chokhmat Kabbalah. That you're doing the mitzvot, which is the action, but you also have the consciousness, which is the kavanah. Because a tefillah, a prayer, without kavanah, is like a body without a soul. The soul is the kavanah, is the consciousness, which you gain through the Chokhmat Kabbalah. You learn how to expand your consciousness by engaging in the wisdom of Kabbalah, the Torah on its deeper levels. But of course, if you only have the consciousness, but you're lacking the action, which means, let's say a person studies Kabbalah, but they don't keep the mitzvot. This is not kosher. This is not Torah. So you need to have both. And people are on different levels. One person may be fully religious, but they don't have any knowledge of Kabbalah. So this person has to work on increasing in Chokhmat Kabbalah, because he keeps all of the mitzvot, but he doesn't understand any of them. Or on the other hand, we have people who are not religious, but they call themselves spiritual. I'm talking about Jews, by the way. For non-Jews, we have the 7 Noahide laws, and that comes with a whole pack of duties and a list of things that a person needs to be conscious of. Right? Torah is for everybody. It's not exclusive to Israel. But the level of consciousness that we're speaking about, in which the nation of Israel must access in order to reveal the light in this world for all the people, all the nations, all the righteous, because the non-Jews are righteous if they keep the 7 laws, only if they keep the 7 laws, is something that is exclusive to the nation of Israel, but the nation of Israel reveals it for everybody. So, of course, there is a covenant between the Creator and the nation of Israel, but the God of Israel is the God of all nations, God of the world, Ahavat Olam. He loves the world. But anyways, he's saying that a person who does the mitzvot, he does Torah, he keeps the Torah correctly, which means with the kavanah, with the Kabbalah, with the chokhmah of the sod of the Torah, they are the ones who taste the taste of chaim, life, tree of life. Why does he say taste? Go back to the imagery. What's the tree of life? It's a fruit tree. It gives off fruits. And when a person eats from the tree of life, when a person eats from the fruits, the delicious fruits of the tree of life, they are able to see that the Lord is good. They're able to see that Hashem, who is called the good, Hatov, is in fact good. Because it is only natural for the good to do good. So there is a difference in the perspective on the Creator, depending on if you have the Chokhmat Kabbalah or if you don't have the Chokhmat Kabbalah. If you don't understand it, then you will never understand that the Creator is good. You might be told it. You might claim to think that you believe it. But belief is not emunah. Emunah means faith or certainty. It's not about belief. It is written in the Torah, Parashat Nitzavim, see, I have set before thee this day life and good, and death and evil. This means that prior to the giving of the Torah, we had only death and evil before us. As our sages say, the wicked in their lives are called dead. This is because their death is better than their lives, as the pain and suffering that they endure for their sustenance is many times greater than the little pleasure they feel in this life. Wow, this is very deep. Before the Torah was given, there was no way to be righteous, because there was no law that the humanity was aware of that is godly. The only law that they were aware of was something man-made. Before the Torah was given, only the Avot and the Tzaddikim that we have, who are the forefathers of our people, like Abraham, Yitzchak, Yaakov, Sarah, Rivka, Rachel, Leah, right? Yosef, the 12 sons, and so on. So before the Torah was given, if there was no way to be righteous, then that means everybody was wicked. But the wicked are called dead, even while they're alive. This is according to the Talmud. It's like the walking dead. Right? And what's the reason for that? Why are they called dead? They're clearly alive. Well, the reason is because the suffering and the pain that they endure in this lifetime is greater on the long run than the little pleasure that they derive from this life. Because the pleasure that you derive from this life, as great as we might think the pleasures of this world are, food, money, sex, whatever it might be, they don't compare to the pleasures of the upper worlds where you bask in the light of God. But you have to be worthy in order to enter those domains. You have to have the right level of connection to the Creator of the world in order to be invited to that domain of the upper worlds. Nevertheless, we receive the Torah. We have the opportunity. Let's get to work. However, now we have been granted Torah and mitzvot. He's saying, before the Torah, life is just misery. Life is suffering. The famous philosophers and intellectuals of our generation, they say, life is suffering. But when the Torah was given, that has changed. And by keeping the mitzvot and keeping the Torah, we are rewarded with the real life, joyful and delightful to its owner. As it is written, taste and see that the Lord is good. Hence, the writing says, see, I have set before thee this day life and good, which you did not have in reality at all prior to the giving of the Torah. There was no such thing as life before the giving of the Torah. This is very intense here. Very intense. And the writing ends, therefore, choose life, that thou mayest live, thou and thy seed. There is a seemingly repeated statement here. Choose life, that thou mayest live. The word life and live, they're both chai, chet yud. Why are we repeating that wording? Yet, it is a reference to life in keeping Torah and mitzvot, which is when there is real life. However, a life without Torah and mitzvot is harder than death, is worse than death. This is the meaning of the words of our sages. The wicked in their lives are called dead. The writing says that thou mayest live, thou and thy seed. It means that not only is a life without Torah joyless to its owner, but one also cannot delight others. In other words, whenever you have kids, if you yourself are not righteous, and so therefore your children are raised to be in the same way that you were, then you won't even find a benefit in your efforts of raising this child, because he's just continuing the lineage of wickedness, God forbid. One finds no contentment, even in one's progeny, which means even in one's children, since the life of his progeny is also harder than death. The impact that he leaves behind, being the children that he births into this world, their life is also harder than death. Hence, what gift does he leave them? He's not leaving them any gifts. In fact, he's bringing more people to suffer into this world. However, not only does one who lives in Torah and mitzvot enjoy his own life, but he is even happy to bear children and bequeath them this good life. This is the meaning of that thou mayest live, thou and thy seed. For he receives additional pleasure in the life of his progeny, of which he was the cause. Therefore, whatever achievements that the children make are included in the father. If your children become righteous, they are adding more bliss to your neshama in Shamayim, because they are your progeny. You were the cause. Therefore, their achievements are your achievements. Their failures are also your failures. But this is the beauty of bringing children into the world. And hopefully, whenever you are righteous, you will raise your children righteous. And therefore, you are not bringing another child in this world to suffer like those who don't have the Torah. You are bringing another child in this world to continue the life and the growth of our connection to Hashem. Because each child that you have adds even more connection. So I think we're going to stop here for today and continue with point number 4 next week, continuing our series of the introduction to Talmud Eser Sefirot by Rabbi Yehuda Leib Ashlag, better known as the Baal HaSulam. Don't forget to join us in our series of Talmud Eser Sefirot itself. I have the Sefer right here. The teaching of the 10 dimensions. This is the wisdom that is your way out of the matrix. You can say it like that. This world, I'm not saying that this world doesn't exist, but this world is called the world of falsehoods by the Chokhmat Kabbalah. The wisdom of Kabbalah, or meaning the Arizal, refers to this world as Alma de Shikra, or Olam HaSheker, world of lies. Why? Because this world is the branches. Remember we said, we can't see the roots, we cannot see the truth behind this world until we're able to transcend the 5 senses, which, yes, they allow us to perceive something, but they also conceal a whole lot of what's unknown to us. What you can see is but a snippet of the reality. What you cannot see, that's the rest of the reality. What you know is always limited. What you don't know is always limitless. And that's the beauty of this creation. That's the beauty of life. That there is no end of how close you can become to the Creator, because the Creator is the sum total of everything that exists, which is endless. There is no end. Thank you so much for watching and tuning in to this episode. I hope that you enjoyed this series. Comment in the video if you have any questions or any suggestions, and I'll see you in the next episode.